Welcome, friends. It was a rainy afternoon. The sound of raindrops touching the cafe window made everything feel calm, yet heavy. A struggling single dad sat quietly with his little daughter. Her pink dress was a bit wrinkled, and her tiny hands held a cup of warm milk. He smiled weakly at her, hiding the pain of the unpaid bills waiting at home. Suddenly the door opened. A gentle breeze mixed with the smell of coffee as a woman walked in. She looked elegant, confident, yet her eyes carried a soft memory. The man looked up, and his heart stopped. It was her, his first love, the woman he once dreamed of building a life with. For a moment, time froze. Their eyes met, years of silence, heartbreak, and choices reflected in that single glance. She smiled, a little unsure, and whispered, "It's really you?" He nodded slowly, trying to gather words, but his daughter tugged at his sleeve and asked softly, "Daddy, do you know her?" Tears filled his eyes. "Yes, sweetheart," he said with a trembling voice. "She was once my everything." The woman bent down to the little girl's level, her voice tender and filled with emotion. "You have beautiful eyes," she said. "Just like your father." The little girl smiled shyly. The woman looked back at the man and said gently, "I didn't know life was this hard for you. You were the one who taught me to dream. And now," she paused, holding back tears, "I just want to help you stand again." He stared at her, confused, until the cafe owner came to greet her respectfully, saying, "Welcome back, ma'am. It's an honor to have you here again, CEO Madison." The man froze. CEO, his first love. A millionaire now? She looked at him with tears and whispered, "Maybe this time let me take care of you." He smiled faintly, his eyes glistening, and said, "Maybe this time I'll let you." As the rain kept falling outside, 3 hearts found warmth again inside that small cafe. A reunion of love, destiny, and second chances. Friends, if this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Soul of Kindness. The rain outside had not stopped. It painted silver lines down the cafe window, as if the sky itself was crying with them. The little girl sat between her father and the elegant woman, the once forgotten love now, sitting right across from him. The silence between them wasn't empty. It was full of memories, laughter, promises, and the pain of years gone by. The woman gently stirred her coffee, her hands trembling slightly. "I still remember this place," she said softly. "We used to sit right there in that corner, dreaming about a small bakery, not an empire." The man smiled faintly, his eyes heavy. "Yes," he said quietly. "Back when life was simple, and love was enough." The little girl looked at them both, confused yet curious. "Daddy," she whispered, "did you love her?" The father took a deep breath and nodded slowly. "Yes, baby. A long time ago. But sometimes love doesn't win against time." The woman's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "No," she said in a low, breaking voice. "Sometimes love waits. It waits for us to grow strong enough to hold it again." He looked at her, really looked, and for the first time saw the pain behind her success, the loneliness behind her smile. "You've changed," he said. "You're stronger now. Different." She smiled sadly. "You made me strong. The day you walked away, I promised myself I'd never need anyone. But today," she looked down, her voice trembling, "I realized I still need you. Not for your help, but for your heart." The little girl reached out her tiny hand toward her, and the woman instinctively took it. The warmth of that small hand broke every wall she had built over the years. The man couldn't hold it anymore. His eyes filled with tears as he whispered, "I failed as a husband. I failed as a father. I failed at everything. But seeing you here, maybe God hasn't given up on me yet." The woman leaned closer, tears falling down her cheeks. "You never failed," she said softly. "You just fell, and now I'm here to help you stand again." The cafe lights flickered softly as thunder rolled in the distance. The 3 sat there, a man haunted by his past, a woman softened by her success, and a child who unknowingly united 2 broken hearts. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside, something beautiful was beginning to heal. Quietly, tenderly, and forever. The next morning, sunlight filtered gently through the cafe windows, replacing last night's storm with golden calm. The same table where pain was once shared now felt different, softer, warmer. The struggling single dad sat quietly, watching his daughter giggle as the woman, his first love, helped her draw tiny hearts on a napkin. For the first time in years, he smiled without pretending. There was peace in that moment, fragile but real. The woman looked up and caught his gaze. "You used to smile like that all the time," she said softly. "Before life got heavy." He chuckled weakly. "Yeah, well, life had a way of breaking that smile. I worked 3 jobs after she—" He stopped mid-sentence, his voice trembling, after her mother left. Her face fell. She had heard rumors, but hearing it from him hurt differently. "You raised her alone?" she asked quietly. He nodded. "Every diaper, every sleepless night, every tear. She's the reason I wake up, even when there's nothing left to wake up for." The woman reached across the table and gently touched his hand. "You've always had the biggest heart," she whispered. "You gave up your dreams for her. Maybe it's time someone helped you dream again." He tried to pull his hand away, but she held it tighter. "You don't have to carry this pain alone anymore." His eyes glistened. "I don't even know how to start again. I'm just a man with a little girl and a pocket full of broken plans." She smiled through tears. "Then let me be the one to help you fix them." The little girl looked between them, sensing something deeper than words. She tugged at her father's sleeve. "Daddy," she whispered, "I like her. She makes you smile." He laughed softly, a sound that almost surprised him. "Yes, sweetheart," he said, voice cracking. "She used to make me smile a long time ago, too." The woman looked down at the table, hiding the emotion in her eyes. Then she pulled out a small key from her purse and placed it in front of him. "Well, what's this?" he asked. "It's the spare key to my office," she said quietly. "Come tomorrow. I want to offer you something, not out of pity, but out of trust. You deserve a chance to rebuild, and I want to be part of that." He stared at the key, his fingers trembling. "Why me?" She took a deep breath. "Because I still see the man who once made me believe in kindness." The cafe fell silent. Outside, children laughed in the distance, and the smell of fresh rain filled the air. The little girl held the woman's hand and said softly, "Are you going to help my daddy smile every day?" The woman's eyes welled up. "If he lets me," she whispered. "Yes, I will." The man looked at them both. 2 rays of light in the darkness he thought would never end. He nodded slowly, a tear slipping down his cheek. "Then maybe this is our second chance." The 3 of them sat together, not as strangers, but as a family beginning to form from the ashes of yesterday. The next day arrived with the soft glow of sunrise painting the city golden. The single dad held his daughter's hand as they stood in front of a tall glass building that shimmered like hope itself. The sign at the top read, "Madison Enterprises." He looked up, unsure, nervous. His little girl looked at him and smiled. "Daddy, is this where your friend works?" He nodded slowly. "Yes, sweetheart, my friend, and once my whole world." They stepped inside. The lobby was filled with the quiet hum of success, people in suits, screens flashing numbers, the scent of coffee and new beginnings. He felt out of place, wearing his old shirt and faded jeans, but his daughter squeezed his hand tighter. "It's okay, Daddy," she whispered. "You're the bravest man I know." When the elevator doors opened, she was already waiting, dressed in a soft white dress, her hair tied neatly, her smile calm but full of warmth. "You came," she said softly, stepping forward. He nodded. "I didn't know if I should." "You should always come," she replied, "especially when it's about building your future." She led them into her office, wide windows overlooking the city. Yet somehow it felt peaceful. She turned to him, her tone gentle. "I remember when you taught me to never give up. You said, success isn't about money, it's about kindness. You forgot that lesson, but I didn't." He smiled faintly. "You remembered everything." She took out a folder from her desk and slid it toward him. "I have a position for you. It's not charity. It's because you're one of the most hard-working people I've ever known. You'll manage one of our community projects, helping single parents rebuild their lives." He froze, eyes widening. "You want me to work for you?" She shook her head softly. "Not for me, with me." His throat tightened. He looked down at the folder, his reflection on the glossy surface blurred by tears. I don't know what to say." The little girl, sitting quietly by the chair, whispered, "Say thank you, Daddy." He laughed through his tears. "Thank you," he said, voice breaking. The woman knelt beside the little girl and handed her a small pendant. "For you," she said warmly, "a lucky charm, so your daddy never forgets how strong love can be." The child hugged her tightly. "I like you," she said innocently. "Can we see you again?" The woman looked at the father, eyes glistening, voice soft. "Only if your daddy wants me to." He hesitated for a moment, then said quietly, "I think I've wanted that for a long time." Outside, sunlight spilled through the windows, wrapping them in golden light. It wasn't just a reunion anymore, it was healing. The man took the job that day. The cafe, the rain, the pain, everything had led to this moment. Two broken hearts finding the courage to start again, and a little girl unknowingly stitching their souls back together. As they left the office, the little girl looked up at her father and said, "Daddy, she makes you happy. Maybe God." Welcome, friends. Months passed and the seasons changed, but what truly changed was their hearts. The struggling single dad was no longer struggling. He now stood tall, working passionately as part of the company's charity division. His once tired eyes carried new light, the kind that comes when pain turns into purpose. Every morning his little girl ran into his room shouting, "Daddy, we're going to Mommy Madison's office today." She called her that now, Mommy Madison. And every time, his heart swelled with both love and disbelief. One evening, the company hosted a charity gala, soft music, glowing chandeliers, and people dressed in their best. The woman, radiant in a simple silver gown, looked around for him. When he entered, wearing a borrowed suit and holding his daughter's hand, every head turned. But for her, he was the only one there. She smiled warmly. "You look perfect." He laughed nervously. "I clean up well, I guess? But I'm still the same man." She shook her head gently. "No, you're stronger now, and I'm proud of you." The little girl tugged her father's sleeve and whispered, "Daddy, can I tell her something?" He nodded, smiling. She walked up to the woman, stood on tiptoe and whispered, "When you came into our life, my daddy stopped being sad." The woman's eyes filled with tears. She bent down, hugged the little girl tightly, and said, "And when I met you, my heart finally came home." The man watched them, overwhelmed, his chest heavy with emotion. He stepped closer, voice trembling. "You changed everything. You didn't just give me a job. You gave me back hope, faith, and love." She looked up at him, eyes glistening. "I didn't give it back," she said softly. "You never lost it. You just forgot where you kept it." The music slowed, and he held out his hand. "May I have this dance?" She smiled, taking his hand. They moved slowly under the golden lights, his daughter giggling beside them, twirling around their legs. Laughter echoed through the hall, the sound of healing, of something beautiful being rebuilt piece by piece. Halfway through the dance, she looked into his eyes and said in a trembling whisper, "Do you ever think about what could have been?" He smiled, wiping a tear from her cheek. "No," he said softly, "because what we have now is even better." Tears streamed down her face, and he gently pulled her closer. The little girl clapped her hands and said, "Daddy, are you going to marry Mommy Madison?" The crowd laughed warmly, and both adults blushed. The man looked at her, truly looked, and for the first time in years, he didn't see the CEO. The music swelled. The crowd applauded softly, and in that moment, everything came full circle. The storm, the pain, the distance, all leading back to love. Friends, if this story touched your soul, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Soul of Kindness, where every story reminds us that kindness, love, and second chances can heal even the deepest wounds.